First of all, thank you very much for this chance to talk. I really appreciate that. I think it's a very esteemed publication, and we really appreciate that we get this chance to share our views on how we see the business, how we see things going forward a little bit. If you have a look, I think the overall experience for Atlas Copco so far has been one about continuing our journey into the digital world. I think the crisis has just speeded this up. I think we're not the only company that has suddenly had to roll out large digital platforms. For example, we moved everything onto Microsoft Teams, and everybody is now connected across the whole world that we have. You know, nearly 35,000 people are actually now connected and becoming experts in holding meetings and calls digitally. It's allowed us to do a lot of interaction internally, but also a lot of interaction with our customers. And I think a lot of companies have actually spent a lot of time now during this lockdown period to focus on training, not only for their colleagues, but also for their customers. And of course, we're no exception. We've done a lot of technical training face-to-face, but also a lot of digital learning on various different platforms. I think one area that I'm really impressed with what we've actually been doing is how much education we've been giving and training we've been giving to our customers. I've attended and I've been involved in many webinars where we've actually given energy saving or optimization or even compressed air selection lessons and lectures on these platforms. And these are really appreciated by our customers. We've received a lot of very positive feedback on that. I think if you look across the whole global part of Atlas Copco, you know, we've seen in places like Spain and Italy, we've actually increased the number of orders that we would do in a month, all being done virtually, which I think is very impressive when you look at that sort of digital movement. And then I think from a global perspective, if you look on the business side of things, Atlas Copco is quite diverse. It has quite a large, diverse customer base. We're split across the 4 different business areas, and each of these have their own global presence, but they're a little bit technology focused and a little bit technology experienced. Each one has had a different effect because of the pandemic. If you take, for example, the compressor business globally across everything, all the different divisions as a whole, we're about flat versus this time last year. Our vacuum technique is actually up. It's up by more than 10% in revenue this year to date. And the other 2 business areas are seeing a decline, but that's maybe because they're a little bit more segment specific to things like automotive or even construction. And one thing I think that is very common across the whole group, across the whole company, is that we've invested a lot into R&D and innovation. Here we've not actually slowed down at all. We've actually increased investment in a lot of the divisions into R&D and innovation because we see that this is going to be required for the future. Then, okay, if you zoom in a little bit to India, we've seen a sort of flat start to the year for both revenues and orders received is actually, or orders is a little bit behind versus 2019. But we have this sort of advantage there that we have a large service organization, and that's helping us quite a lot there. Now we're lucky that all 3 manufacturing facilities we have in India are all operational again. Okay, they're all with a reduced capacity. They're running around that sort of 35–40%. We think in June that will definitely ramp up quite a lot more. But in number of days, I'm sorry, I don't have the answer on that one. But they're operational now, and across India, those 3 plants are actually also delivering already. As far as best practices, we've of course followed very strictly the regulations, local regulations on the number of people that were allowed on the site. We're practicing very much the social distancing and taking into consideration, even when we're working very closely on the manufacturing of compressors, sometimes we have to see how close we can actually come, so we have to do that differently. On-site team meetings in the morning, they're already spaced out, and you know, we already set up that system quite well so that people don't come into interaction there. We're taking safety extremely seriously. I mean, it's the major point there. So we know that if there's any areas of potential contamination, that we already highlighted those, and making sure that they remove any potential for cross-contamination across it. And then I think the biggest thing that we're focusing very much on at the moment is still maintaining the quality. So making sure that we still do the visits to our suppliers, making sure that the quality controls are still in place, because we don't want to see any reduction in quality. There might be a reduction in capacity, but certainly not in quality. It's a very good question. I think the priority in the beginning and all the way through the lockdown has been the safety and well-being of all of our employees. We wanted to make sure that any engagement that we had through all the different systems, that we were always maintaining a well-being of our teams, also our channel partners. We wanted to make sure that they were safe. So there was a lot of engagement in the beginning about how we would actually maintain that safety aspect. Okay. If you have a look, we did this mainly through the digital interactions, and even now as we come towards the end of the lockdown, we've done a lot of planning on our re-emergence strategies. Okay, for example, we've done a lot of training in the last 2 weeks on preparing our teams for this new world. I think majorly focused on how we will remain safe when we're operating in an environment of potential infection. Just as a very practical thing, we're training our service engineers when they come out of their car and they're walking towards the customer's entrance and everything else. When they get given the lanyard, normally they have to put this around their neck, this visitor badge and everything else. Should they put it around their neck? Should they put it in their pocket? If they're asked to hold the handrail, should they hold it? So all of this training we're doing to try to make sure that they're very comfortable and confident going back into this face-to-face environment. Okay. There's been a lot of interaction across this lockdown period with our customers. And I think right from the very first moment of the lockdown, we immediately implemented a strong support structure for our customers, specifically those in the essential industries. And as I mentioned, we have quite a large service organization. We have more than 180 service engineers who are spread out well across the country. So we could immediately react if required and when required. Then the other big thing, of course, is that we use technology. And I mentioned already that we've invested and continue to invest in R&D and innovation. In India, we specifically have around 10,000 machines connected to what we call our Smart Link connectivity system. And those machines that are operational in these essential industries, we immediately switched into a high data mode. And this allowed then for the customers to share with us the information about the running of their machines. What this meant is that we could monitor remotely how the machines were doing and prepare for any potential breakdowns. For example, if the filter differential became a bit high or if the temperature went a little bit high, then we could be prepared to proactively contact the customers and prevent any stoppages. And we have a lot of case studies where we actually intervened, made phone calls to the customers, told them that their machine was getting to a dangerous situation, arranged a visit, and actually went and did the service on that machine prior to it having any shutdown. And this meant that these essential industries were able to remain productive during this time. And then one other area that I really liked is that our teams were very creative in how they interacted with the customers, and they immediately got on to doing something called a no-load leak detection test. And this is basically because a lot of the factories had stopped, they were not producing anything. It gave the opportunity for us to teach the customer how to do a leak detection test. And within about 2 weeks or so of us being in lockdown, we saw that there were around 65 customers that were able to save energy of more than 60 million rupees. And after being in lockdown now for many weeks, we've actually seen this figure rise beyond 200 million rupees in energy savings that we've actually been able to determine based on this leak detection test. And then, okay, I think the vast experience that we have of compressed air systems can bring this extremely valuable service to our customers. It's a very practical situation at the moment that energy savings are really important when customers are trying to reduce their costs. And then, okay, you mentioned the question about the hospital, which is very relevant. And it was a very, very busy time for our medical gas solutions division. It's one of the divisions that I take responsibility for. And they've had to collaborate extensively with many people involved in these essential services. One example we did was the Sassoon Hospital project in Pune, where we provided the medical breathing air system and the equipment to the ICU in a record time of 11 days. So in 11 days, we went from converting 2 wards into a complete ICU for COVID-19 patients. And from this, we've done multiple other projects where oxygen generation systems have been installed. And this is a key requirement for treating the COVID-19 patients. So, I mean, I think innovation and sustainability and improving profitability of our customers is actually at the core of all of our products in the whole development of our products. During these difficult times when many businesses are looking to optimize costs and maximize their productivity, our products are already proven and tested across the world and here in India, and as being extremely reliable. And amongst these industries, of course, is the textiles. And this is a major area where reliability and proven reliability is the focus for many companies at the moment. I think it's important to note also that, going forward, nobody's really too sure what the future will be. So there probably will be a lot of fluctuations in demand. And this uncertainty surrounding the textile market specifically is also very important when you come to minimizing the compressed air costs. Okay, so one thing one technology we have, for example, is the variable speed compressors and dryers that we have. And these match exactly the performance of the compressor to the demand that the customer will actually have. This means that there's no wastage in energy, there's no loss of energy that is taking place here. I think if you look at the other things that we have in the forms of sort of compressed air, as far as the piping systems, as far as optimization, as far as anything else that we have a multitude of different solutions that we can offer to our customers. Okay. I think the other thing that we really want to say is that with the service structure that we have, with the understanding of our digitalization, with the focus that we've been putting into optimization, we're trying to walk shoulder to shoulder with our customers at this time in reducing their energy bills and reducing their energy costs. Our team is completely geared up and is in continuous touch with the customers. Wherever we can't go physically, we're doing it digitally. And we're constantly looking at how we can actually provide the uptime of their machines. We want to focus on this proven reliability and energy savings. I think we're taking a lot of proactive steps to be in contact with our customers to make sure that we really explain to them the benefits of these different solutions that we have. I wish I had a crystal ball that I could go into and have a look at. I think it's a very difficult one. I think if you look at the situation now, there's never been a situation like this before. We've never seen such a crisis. So trying to extrapolate from past crisis and saying, okay, this actually is how it's going to be, is actually going to carry no meaning whatsoever. One renowned practice that we're using in Atlas Copco, one renowned model that we're following is scenario planning. And in this, we're looking at various different scenarios on how the future could pan out and how it could actually be assessed. And just to give you an example of one scenario that we're looking at and one scenario that exists is, for example, if you compare the geopolitical environment that might become very tense, or it might become very collaborative. If it becomes very tense, but people then also have a strong credibility in science, then there will be a real race towards a real technology race. And okay, in that technology race, what will be the scenario for Atlas Copco? How will that plan out? What businesses will grow? What things will develop, and everything else? So what I would say at this stage is that we're focusing on a couple of really important things. First is multiple different scenarios, how to plan for these different scenarios that could actually. There is no defined business model that we can follow here. We can't say this is what happened before, so therefore it'll happen again. Not at all. What we need to do is have a broad base of different scenarios that we could prepare for. And then having the agility and flexibility to react to that situation. And I think if that's one message I can give is that, okay, companies may have to divert or look in different ways in which they can change their model a little bit. I know a lot of textile companies are now focusing on PPE, and I think India's gone from almost no PPE production to almost the second or the third largest, or even the largest country to produce PPE, masks and non-woven, etc. So that ability to be very lean and quick in which you change, I think in diversifying your portfolio is going to be needed. And the other point then is that Atlas Copco focuses a lot on empowerment and empowerment leadership. And trying to make sure that if people see an opportunity, that they can react very quickly to it, and that they're not then labored or having this weight of trying to maneuver quickly. At this time, agile businesses will be the ones that will be most strategically strong, and being able to maneuver quickly through these changes with an understanding, a pre-planning of different scenarios that we'll do, I believe is going to be one way to actually come out of this stronger in the future. As far as a timeline is concerned, it's very difficult. I think if you see at the moment, we in Maharashtra and I think across India at the moment, we're in lockdown until Monday. Let's see what happens on Sunday with the news. I have a strong belief that the Indian economy is very much sentiment driven, and if people feel that they can spend money, they'll spend money. Compressed air business is driven very much by manufacturing, and if people are actually out there buying textiles or out there buying computers or pens or whatever, this will drive the economy. If the sentiment doesn't change and people are feeling okay, they want to be a little bit careful on their money, then I feel that will slow and stagnate a little bit the growth out of there. So once people feel confident to spend money, I think then the business will start to do. When that will happen, I honestly think it's probably not until the end of this year. If I had to give a prediction, certainly until the end of until the end of 2020, and then maybe even mid part of 2021. But I'm not an economist or an economic scientist in that way, so it's only based on my own predictions.